President Cyril Ramaphosa is presenting his first State of the Nation address in Parliament in Cape Town. The event comes just 24 hours after Ramaphosa was declared president and took his oath of office. His predecessor, Jacob Zuma, finally resigned on Wednesday night after a protracted standoff with the ruling ANC. The State of the Nation address had been postponed while the party decided on Zuma's future. Well, during this important event, the president sets out his government's key objectives and highlights the achievements and challenges experienced over the past year. From Cape Town, and we'll show you more of that later on in the program when we have more. Well, we are now getting you live pictures from the South African Parliament in Cape Town. Newly elected President Cyril Ramaphosa has started to give his State of the Nation address. Let's now listen in.
Judiciary who are here. Ministers and deputy ministers, premiers, speakers of provincial legislatures, chairperson of SALGA, and all executive mayors present, the heads of our Chapter 9 institutions, chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, leaders of faith-based organizations, former Speaker of the National Assembly, Dr. Frini Jinwala, former Speaker of the National Assembly, Mr. Max Sisulu, invited guests, veterans of the struggle for liberation, members of the diplomatic corps, honorable members, fellow South Africans. It is for me indeed a great honor and a privilege to have this opportunity to address you all and indeed the nation on this, the State of the Nation address. This address should have been delivered last week, but was delayed so that we could properly and carefully manage issues of political transition. I wish to thank honorable members and the people of South Africa for their patience and for your forbearance. I also wish to extend a word of gratitude to former President Jacob Zuma, yes, I do wish to thank former President Jacob Zuma for the manner in which he approached this very difficult and sensitive process. I also wish to thank him for the service to this nation during his 2 terms as President of the Republic, during which our country made significant progress in several areas of development. I spoke to President Zuma yesterday, and we exchanged wonderful pleasantries, and he wished us well for the holding of this SONA. Fellow South Africans, in just over 150 days from now, the people of the world, and indeed our people in this country, will unite in celebrating the 100th anniversary birth of Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. It is a day on which we as South Africans will remember the life of one of the most remarkable leaders this country, and indeed this continent and the world has ever known. We will have an opportunity to recount Madiba's long walk to freedom. We will also have an opportunity to reflect on his wisdom, his unfailing humility, his abiding compassion, and his essential integrity. We have dedicated this year, 2018, to his memory, and we will devote every action, every effort, every utterance to the realization of his vision of a democratic, just, and equitable society. Guided by his example, we will use this year to reinforce our commitment to ethical behavior as well as ethical leadership. And in celebrating the centenary of Nelson Mandela, we are not merely honoring the past, we are building the future, and particularly the future that Nelson Mandela envisaged for South Africa, our country and its people, the future that has its roots in the Freedom Charter. We are continuing the long walk he began to build a society in which all may be free, in which all may be equal before the law, and in which all may share in the wealth of our land and have a better life.
Okay, well, we've been listening there to the new President of South Africa, that's Cyril Ramaphosa there, giving his State of the Nation address. He started by giving gratitude to former President Jacob Zuma, and we will be returning, but he was just mentioning, his biggest mention was Nelson Mandela, and talking about the past and building the future. We will return to that a bit later in the programme. Now let's return to the State of the Nation address being given by South Africa's new President, Cyril Ramaphosa. Let's take a listen.
Renewal and to work together to ensure that it makes a meaningful difference in the lives of our people. This year, we will be initiating measures to set the country on a new path of growth, employment, and transformation. We will do this by getting social partners in our country to collaborate in building a social compact on which we will create drivers for economic recovery in our country. We have to build further on the collaboration with business and labor to restore confidence and to prevent an investment downgrade once more. Tough decisions will have to be made to close our fiscal gap. We have to stabilize our debt and restore our state-owned enterprises to much better health. At the center of our national agenda in 2018 is the creation of jobs, especially for the young people in our country. We are going to embark on a number of measures to address the unemployment challenge. One of the initiatives we will embark on is to convene a job summit within the next few months to align the efforts of every sector and every stakeholder behind the imperative of job creation. Now, this is a response to a number of stakeholders in the labor movement and business who have said to us as government, what is needed to immediately and urgently address the challenge of jobs is to have a job summit where many South Africans will put their heads together and come up with solutions. The summit will look at what we need to do to ensure that our economy grows and becomes more productive, that companies invest on a far greater scale, and that workers are better equipped, and that our economic infrastructure is also expanded. We will expect this summit, yes, to come up with practical but urgent solutions and initiatives so that they can be implemented immediately. We will make a major push this year to encourage significant new investment in our economy. To this end, we will organize an investment conference in the next 3 months, targeting both domestic and international investors to market the compelling investment opportunities to be found in our country, and there are many such opportunities. As part of the many initiatives that we are going to take, we are going to address the decline over many years of our manufacturing capacity, which has deeply affected employment and exports. We will seek to reindustrialize on a scale and at a pace that draws millions of job seekers into the economy. We are going to promote greater investment in key manufacturing sectors through the strategic use of incentives and a number of other measures that government has at its disposal.
Well, we've just been listening there to Cyril Ramaphosa, the new president of South Africa, giving his State of the Nation address. He was just talking there about setting the country on a new path of growth and transformation. He said tough decisions will still have to be made to close South Africa's fiscal gap. He talked about a jobs summit to create more jobs for especially young people, and also he'd like to organize an investment conference.